This is the brand new Morbidelli T1002VX. Bit of a mouthful, but it's a 4-stroke V-twin, 88 brake horsepower, 89 Newton meters of torque. It comes with cruise control, heated seats, heated grips, TFT screen, a 20-litre tank, all the mod cons, and all for under $8,500. Oh, and that even includes the luggage. But is it any good?
But it just seems to go and go and go and go. Because you have to work this bike a little bit more, it's actually a little bit more engaging and it's fun. So, the Morbidelli T1002V, or is it XV? Weird name. What do I think? Well, I've done nearly 2,000 miles on this now. Wow, I mean, I took this on our north tour with chicken strips a couple of weeks ago, and it was surrounded by, you know, the usual sort of suspects, GS's, Multistradas, Tyres, you know, just the usual sort of bikes that people bring on tours, to be honest with you. And on the road, I have no complaints. This bike can do everything all the other bikes do. You do have to work it a little bit harder, I have to say. I mean, it's 1000cc, but it's quite, dare I say, underpowered. That's probably being very unfair to the bike. It's got an 88 brake horse, I think it's got 85 Newton meters of torque. I was still able to overtake, I was still able to make plenty of progress and have fun on the bike. You just have to work it a little bit harder. You know, I'm spoiled because I'm used to the 1300 GS now, plus I've had that tweaked a bit with a full system and the DNA air filter stage 2 kit, so it's got a lot of punch and that power is just on tap. Whereas on this, you kind of have to get the revs up and work it to get any sort of, well, it's not even comparable, let's be honest, but to get any kind of performance out of it. But it is not underpowered. Now, see, on bigger bikes I'd have gone for the overtake there. This is a 50 limit and she was doing 37, 38 just, but I wasn't convinced I would have enough oomph to get around it comfortably without, you know, alarming the oncoming traffic. On more powerful bikes, it's just a twist of the wrist and you're round, you've gone. There's a little bit of a build-up period. Again, I don't want to be unfair to this bike because it's definitely not underpowered, it's just not as powerful. But $8,500, you have to keep telling yourself that. This is $8,500. You could buy pretty much 3 of these for the kitted up GS. Nationals. Got a lovely roar to it, a real sort of guttural roar to this V-twin. I think it's got a weird sort of setup, this. I think this is like an 80-degree V-twin, which I'm no mechanic, but I think that's fairly unusual, and it gives it this beautiful, really nice guttural growl to it. It certainly shouts a lot about what it's doing. It's not all mouth and no trousers, you know. It does get you up to speeds, but you won't win any performance battles, you know. You won't win the old trump cards on performance, that's for sure. But it's engaging. You know, that noise goes a long way for me. You know, it's what I was really missing on my GS, because that 1300 engine's horrific. It's like a bag of nails. Even this sounds 10 times better than that. You know, the ride itself is quite soft. You know, you've got adjustable front suspension. Now, I've read it's got adjustable rear, but I can't see anywhere to adjust the rear. And to me, it does feel like the rear needs to be stiffened up a little bit. It does feel a little bit wallowy, particularly once you crack on these backcountry roads. You know, you do feel the whole bike starting to do this quite a bit. But I am 20 stone, so I think if you were somewhat of a normal weight, you probably wouldn't notice that, or certainly notice it as much. Right there. You gotta love British back roads. I mean, I love the fact that they keep them as nationals, but you're sort of just fending for yourself. And I quite like that, because you get on the big main roads and they're all 30s, 40s, 50s, just bedwetter speed limits. And for God's sake, how about you tackle the people that can't actually drive or ride rather than everybody else? Anyway, the brakes, the Juan make, they do stop you, but again, I'm spoiled. I'm used to the Brembos and the brakes of the BMW, which just seem to stop you instantaneously without breaking your neck. They're amazing. These, they kind of feel a little bit vague initially, so you pull harder on the lever and eventually they grab, and it's like, oh, to begin with I was never quite sure if they were going to stop me in time or not. But again, you get used to it. It's a lovely engine. The key with this bike is learning to work the gears and work that rev limiter and work those revs. You know, the maximum, I think the maximum power on this thing is up sort of 7,500, but pretty much as soon as you've hit that, you just hit the brick wall of the rev limiter and all the power stops. It's kind of getting those revs up and using the power of the engine as you approach that sort of 7,500, but get the gears changed. You know, you work your way through the gears quickly. Saying that, there is no quick shifter on this, but you know, watch this. See, you can just ride it and change gear the old school traditional way. You know, get hard on the throttle, off, roll off the throttle and up on the clutch, and just change gear that way, and it responds well to that. So I've got the X4, the 360 camera there, sticking out the front of the bike to give you some idea as to what I look like on this thing. As I said before, 6'3", 20 stone. I said on the sort of tour vid, the foot pegs do feel quite high for me. It's weird because you know, the seat feels quite low and the foot pegs feel quite high, but I've had other people get on the bike and they don't think it feels very low at all, but it does feel low to me. That said, comfort wise, it's not bad at all. Bars feel nice and wide. It's nice and easy to manoeuvre this bike around once it's moving. When it's stationary, you really feel the weight. I think the weight is something nuts, like 265 or 275 kilograms. It's a big, heavy beast when you're stationary. So, you know, if you're smaller in stature or you struggle to move big, heavy bikes around, this one might be a bit of a struggle, to be honest. Once it's moving, it feels fine, absolutely fine. Off-road wise, couldn't tell you. Not taking this off-road, I've got no intentions of taking this off-road. It does have an off-road mode. Speaking of modes, it's got sport, it's got tour and rain, I think it is. Okay, I tell you what, why don't we, because you can't do it on the fly, you have to be stationary. Okay, so you just hit mode button. So it's not tour, it's standard. So that's it in standard, push and hold, return to that screen. Bosh, that's us ready to go. So we're now in standard mode, just to try and refresh me what this was like, because I've ridden the new 1300 RT since that tour. And that one I really liked the road mode compared to dynamic, which was unheard of for me. But yeah, this in standard mode, it just feels a bit died back, that's all. Yeah, I think, again, if you were to be riding with a pillion, you might want to keep this in standard mode. Dynamic, it definitely feels a lot more punchy, and the throttle delivery is much more urgent. Yeah, that is actually a lot more reserved than sport mode. But a lot of things can be forgiven for that engine. Just that engine note, it's just lovely. It really is nice. I mean, the bike is absolutely fine. You know, if you're spending £8 on a bike, you can't be expecting. I know £8 is still a lot of money. Don't get me wrong. I'm fully aware £8 is a lot of money. But in today's market, £8 won't really get you too much. This thing is coming with cruise control, a 1 litre engine. You know, it's got the traditional cigarette lighter power, plus it's got USB and USB-C power outlets. You get all the luggage with it at the moment in a deal, so for £8.5 you get all that luggage. We'll cover luggage actually when we get back to my garage.
You can get the 3-piece aluminium luggage for £499 at the moment. Separately, it's £1,299. But what's it like? But they're good, solid cases, seem to be waterproof. They even have a little bungee cargo net in the top of all the boxes. Only one issue with the right-hand side, the one with the exhaust. It's pretty anorexic, and you'll struggle to fit anything but a few spares in there. The top box, however, it even comes with the pillion backrest. Inside, again, you've got the cargo net, and the box itself is big. Now, I took the liner that I use for my Lone Rider top box. I've got the smaller of the two versions, and that bag fits perfectly inside the top box. It's a real good, usable, versatile size, and all the boxes are lockable. Now, when I go on tour, this is for a normal 7-day tour, 7 pants, 7 socks, 7 t-shirts, jeans, trainers, and me wash kit. And that all goes into my 38-litre Lone Rider bag, which is for the left-hand side Lone Rider pannier. And you can see here that fits nice and easily into the left-hand Lone Rider pannier. Try to do the same with the Morbidelli luggage. Not quite as easy. But the solution to the problem I found is unfasten the bag, give it a bit of man love, bit of a bear hug there, and you can still squeeze it in. So you can get a week's worth of kit into that pannier, and you've still got room in the offside pannier or the top box if you're not carrying filming kit like I do. All in, not bad at all.
Oh, tank range. We didn't speak about tank range. I'll have to cut this in because I forgot to mention it. Fuel gauge. The fuel gauge lies like a cheap watch. It's a 20-litre tank on this thing, and the fuel gauge does not budge for what feels like months. And then all of a sudden it drops 1 or 2 notches. And then it hangs around for a little while. And then all of a sudden it's below half full, and then you're running out. The fuel light will come on and you're like, oh my god, what's going on? Okay, right, I've pushed it and pushed it and pushed it on this. And at the point where I thought, there's no way I'm getting any more here, I think I'd done 160 odd miles, and when I filled it up, I still had, I think it was 4 litres, almost 4 litres left in the tank. So I think you're going to realistically, and this was riding the way I ride when I tour, so anyone that's toured with me will be well aware of that. We're not plodding along. It's a mixture of plodding, and then I sort of have a little mad spell while I link up with groups ahead and things like that. So you're really working the throttle, and yeah, I reckon you realistically get about 180 to maybe even 200 miles out this 20-litre tank. To begin with, I thought it was going to be a nightmare. I thought I was going to get about 110 miles out this tank, but it just seems to go and go and go and go. But don't trust it. Definitely do not trust the fuel gauge. Same with the temperature gauge. Again, lies like a cheap watch. Oh yeah, another thing, this is chain drive, obviously it's not shaft drive, so you'll have to do the chain lubing thing, but it's no biggie, is it? to be honest, would you want an 8.5 grand shaft drive? They'd probably be more cheese than the BMW ones. Ooh, topical. It actually feels quite nice in the corners too. You know, I rode this in the peeing rain up in the North Tour. I've ridden it in scorching hot days. It really is not a bad bike at all, folks. Genuinely not a bad bike. I think what it's going to come down to with this is what's the long-term ownership like with this bike. It is Chinese. I mean, people turn their noses up with Chinese, but you're living in a land of make-believe if you think like any of the bikes that we ride today haven't got component parts made in China. Okay, yeah, this is predominantly made in China, so the metals that are used, they're not going to be the top rate metals, are they? I appreciate that. That's why I'm saying, you know, how are they going to cope with British winters? How are they going to cope with being abused every day? All sorts of weather, you know, being washed, being not washed. But that would involve owning this bike for like a year or so, and I've got it for a matter of weeks, so I can't answer that. Residual value as well. Personally, if I'm spending 8 grand on a bike, you know, I'm not expecting there to be much of a residual value left when it comes time to sell. Other people might expect that. Again, no idea. This is a brand new bike. There are no second-hand bikes of this model out there, so I couldn't tell you. I did see something just popped up on my YouTube feed the other day actually, which was I think it was Bennett's Social, the Bennett's YouTube channel. They had done a vid on Chinese bikes and long-term ownership, etc, etc, so be worth casting your eye over that for sure. Again, I can't tell you my own personal experience because I've only got the bike for a matter of weeks. But, you know, I mean, if I was in the market for a 1000cc bike that I wanted to do some touring on, possibly carry a pillion, although, you know, I would suggest you and your pillion need to be fairly active in your lifestyle. You don't want to be a couple of bloaters like myself. You could tour 2 up on this, you know, but again, that lack of power in the engine, that's only going to get multiplied once you start adding pillions onto the back of this. What else can I tell you? I mean, I urge you to watch the North Tour series, the 2025 North Tour series, Chicken Strips Tour. That'll be on my channel. Once it's on the channel, I'll link it in the description down below. Might even put a card up here somewhere. Check that out because they're my first reactions, first feelings as I'm riding the bike and then as it develops over the 5 days of the tour. So to sum up this bike, folks, 8.5 grand, I think you're getting a lot of bike for that money. I do think you need to be realistic with your expectations. If you're going to be spending that 8.5 grand, you could spend 8.5 grand and get a lower cc bike that's possibly better quality maybe, or has more power for its size. But I think this bike has ample power personally for everything that I've needed it for so far. It's coped absolutely fine, and indeed it's overtaken your GS's, your Ducatis, your Triumphs, etc, etc. Because you have to work this bike a little bit more, well, quite a bit more, it's actually a little bit more engaging and it's fun. That said, would I have one of these over one of those premium adventure bikes? No, of course not. Of course I wouldn't. My GS has almost double the horsepower and torque of this now since it's been tweaked, and it's a whole lot of fun. And I have the BMW brand to fall back on for servicing and if anything goes wrong. Morbidelli, time will tell. Time will tell what sort of customer service you get from them. So definitely have these in your sights, folks, if you're in the market for an 8.5 grand litre bike that you want to tour on, you want to commute on, or you just want to ride places in comfort. It's a cracking bike. genuinely is a cracking bike. Big thanks to MotoGP up near Manchester there. They are the official British importers and distributors for Morbidelli. So a massive thanks to them for reaching out and letting me take this bike away. Make sure you check out their website. There'll be links down below in the description, folks. Get yourselves along, chuck your leg over one if you're in the market. Hope you've enjoyed this one, folks. Keep doing your thing. Get on out there whenever you can. Look after those that you love. But most importantly, live your life. Woo-ha!